Welcome to INFS 325 Public Relations. In Session 2, we are looking at PR and related fields. PR has been confused with some related fields such as advertising, marketing, publicity, sales relations, and propaganda. So we are going to look at the differences between public relations and all these related fields so that you know that clearly public relations is very different from them. They are related, but they are not the same. So for our session, we're going to look at advertising, what it is, marketing, sales promotion, propaganda, and publicity. Note that all these related fields are used in the library environment or the information environment. And that is why it is important to consider these related fields. And for your reading list, you will need Jeff King's book, published in 1998. Even though it's very old, it has all the definitions that you will need. So let's look at public relations and advertising. I believe you all know what advertising is. What are some of your favorite adverts? Is it when it's selling a product? So you all have an idea of what an advert is. So advertising actually presents a persuasive selling message to right prospective for products or services at the lowest possible cost. So because it sells a persuasive message, it may not always be wholly true. Take an advert of one of these herbal drugs or medicines where they proclaim that a particular drug is able to heal all kinds of diseases. Is that wholly true? I believe you would have your own thoughts about such adverts, but that is advertisement. It tells you or tries to persuade you to buy the particular drug. As we mentioned earlier, PR is about the truth. We do not color any message in PR. So the emphasis on selling differs greatly from the role of public relations. And of course, public relation serves to inform, and correctly so, to educate and to create understanding through knowledge. So advertising is different from public relations. So what's the major relationship then? Advertising is more likely to succeed when prior PR activity has been done or created so that people already have in mind what the product or service you want to promote is all about. So a prior PR activity, also known as market education, has to be done so that the advertising will have a better effect on whatever product or service that you want to let people know about. Now in advertising, you need to choose the correct medium that you want to use because different media have different effects. For instance, if you are targeting a particular group, know which media to use to target when advertising. Let's look at a few things about advertising. With advertising, you're able to control, at least in print, the content of it, so you can shape your message as you like. The size, especially when it comes to print media, if you want quarter size or full page, you can do that. Even the location where it will come in the newspaper, the reach, the frequency. So advertising, it's aimed at targeted audiences, okay? So you would conclude by saying PR is much bigger than advertising. PR relates to the total communications of organization, where advertising is only limited to the marketing function. PR is neither free advertising nor unpaid for advertising, all right? because even when you're doing PR, there is some cost to it. Advertising can be more expensive than PR. Every organization is involved in PR, but it's not every organization which uses advertising. For instance, the fire service never advertises for fire, but the fire service uses a lot of PR to inform, to educate us about what goes on in the fire service. So PR embraces everyone and everything, whilst advertising is limited to only special selling. Let's look at public relations or PR and marketing. Are they the same? So let's get a few definitions of marketing and then we'll see whether it's the same as PR. Marketing is the process where companies create value for customers and build strong customer relationships in order to capture value for customers in return. And so, thinking of marketing, we have what you call the marketing mix, and we'll talk specifically about the 4 P's of marketing, which is the product, the place, the price, and the promotion. And of course, you know what PR is. Creating favorable goodwill among the organizations and the publics. So would you say PR and marketing are the same? This is the question. Well, they all bear some degree of communications and goodwill, of course, but you would see that you would have to do your marketing or carry out your marketing strategies, and afterwards you can also carry out your PR. So the marketing helps you to know who your customers are and what they need, and then you produce according to the needs and wants of your customers, and then afterwards you use PR to be able to communicate all your products or your services to the customers. So marketers and PR practitioners have a lot in common, but they are not the same. What are public relations and sales promotion? Let's look at the definition for sales promotion. Sales promotion, they are short-term schemes to launch products or to revive or increase sales. They consist of below-the-line efforts using the media to help move goods out of the stores. So they may have schemes, long-term schemes, such as regular product demonstrations or even short-term promotional schemes. They are often used as an alternative to media advertising. And so the question is, PR and sales promotion, are they the same? Sales promotion does have some aspects of PR, but they are never the same. They bring the producer and closer to the customer, and they have a more personal form of marketing communications than the traditional media advertising. But sales promotion is not PR, because sales promotion can cause disappointment. Remember our definition for public relations. It is about the truth and nothing but the truth, which is public relations. What are public relations and propaganda? Are they the same? These days, propaganda has a very negative connotation, and so obviously it will not be the same as public relations. Propaganda originally means gaining support for an opinion or creed or belief. It deals with the emotional aspects of your body or your emotions, your intellect, or even spiritual topics. Now, for propaganda, the recipient of the propaganda often gains there's very little tangible gain except for inner satisfaction. And for the propagandist, whenever is carrying out propaganda, the idea is to get more members or to get more converts. Is that public relations? Obviously, it is not public relations, because propaganda can be used for good, for bad, or for indifferent causes. So propaganda, like advertising, is prejudiced in favor of its topic or its publics. It is liable to invite suspicion or at least some disagreement. And so propaganda is not public relations. Public relations is based on facts. It's factual, it's credible, it's unbiased, and it's free of self-praise. Now the problem is to distinguish between propaganda and public relation, especially when propaganda is also used by the government departments. Now, propaganda to keep the government in power is not public relations. It is not public relations. And remember the definition for public relations. It is always factual, credible, unbiased. So there is a difference between PR and propaganda. What about public relations and publicity? So let's look at publicity. What is publicity first? Publicity results from information being known or gained as a result of information being published or announced. Publicity results from uncontrollable and may be good or bad for the subject concerned. Publicity also yields an image, and subject to adequate information, the image may be what it truly is. And publicity may be good or bad. So we see that there is a little difference, or there is difference between publicity and public relations. We actually say that publicity is a third-party endorsement. So for instance, if you invite the press to come and cover your event, whatever aspect that news house or that media house decides to bring in the news column to highlight during the news is what we call the publicity. They look at what their editorial policies are, and they carry out aspects of the event. They are giving you the publicity. You are not sending the information to them. So there is a difference between publicity and PR. Publicity is referred to as third party. What the other person considers important is what he brings out for you. So publicity is disseminated and is not equivalent to message received or understood. Not all public relation activities result in publicity. So we can conclude by saying that the PR image is the true impression based on experience and knowledge and understanding of facts. For publicity, as I said, is third-party endorsement. And so there is a difference between public relations and publicity. Now, but publicity is very important, especially in our environment. What can publicity do and what can publicity not do for you? So let's look at the value of publicity, and then subsequently we'll look at what publicity cannot do for you. So if you have a new product or a service, for instance, you decide that you have purchased or subscribed to more databases, and you want people, your publics, to know about the new databases that you have. What you can do is to have an event, invite the pressmen to come in, and then of course you launch your databases and then you give the publicity. So that event which is covered, you would get the publicity coming out of it through your pressmen that you invite to cover your program. Publicity can also be used to re-energize an old product. So you've been doing certain things for a long time, you think the patronage or the use of it has gone down, so you can decide, okay, why don't I re-energize this old product? And so again, you hold an event, invite the press to come in, and then they give you that publicity. So publicity can also help you to explain a complicated product. There's very little or no budget involved with it. It enhances the organizational reputation, And it's also good when you have to respond to a crisis. So what's the value of publicity in information centers? As I mentioned earlier on, we are applying all the principles and concepts of PR to information centers. So publicity information centers can help us raise awareness about our programs and our services. It can also help us increase partnerships. So you get the involvement of the publics and private partners to support our programs. Publicity in information centers can also create or change or build or even enhance our public image. It can also help us get a lot of money from our donors. It can win support from our donors as well. So publicity in information centers is very, very important. But what publicity cannot do, and this is what you need to pay attention to, if you do not carry out a good program, publicity cannot give you a good image. Publicity cannot compensate for poor service delivery. That is the most important thing. And publicity cannot replace effective lobbying. Publicity cannot eliminate the need for strategic planning. So you can't say that because you're going to get the pressmen to come in and cover events, that is enough for you to carry out your activities. You will still need to go about your strategic planning of your activities in your information centers. So publicity cannot do a number of things. You need to plan properly using all the PR principles, the RACE, the RPIE, the ROSI, to be able to carry out a good public relations campaign in your organization. Now, for all that I've said, we should be very careful that public relations is not equated with spin. Spin equals distortion. Spin is equivalent to lying. Spin cannot cover up your poor performance because it will catch up on you later on. So spinning any information, spinning any activity is not equivalent or is not equal to good public relations. So for your activity, we have learned a number of related fields. And people occasionally confuse these with public relations. But today, you know that they are not public relations. They may have some common features, but they are different. So for your activity, come out onto your platform, your chat forum, and discuss what you mean by propaganda and what you mean by advertising and what they have in common. Also discuss what publicity is and what advertising is, and are they the same thing? And also look at propaganda and also look at public relations. Are they the same? I am glad that you have been able to learn a number of related fields. Keep these at the back of your mind because we would come back to them later on. I thank you for paying attention.